Don't worry. Maybe he is playing outside. Layla comforted Bella. Bella was not so optimistic. She held the note in her hand and said, Layla, I suspect that Leo was taken away by Eleanor. She called me and asked me to leave the pack, but I didn't agree. This old witch, last time she sent someone to make Leo dizzy. This time, it must be her. In order to force me to leave the pack, she can do anything. I want to find her. Okay, I'll take you there. Layla held Bella and drove to Alpha Xavier's house. Eleanor sat comfortably in the living room, sipping tea and watching television. The aunt was tidying up the living room. When she heard the doorbell ringing, the aunt went to open the door and was startled to see Bella. Miss Moonshadow, where is Eleanor? Bella was not polite at all. Why are you looking for Madam? There is no need for you to know. Just tell me if she is here or not. I have something to talk to her about. Bella growled. The aunt glanced back at the living room. Bella also caught sight of Eleanor on the sofa. Before the aunt could respond, Eleanor stopped her. Miss Moonshadow, you can't come in. Bella and Layla would not take no for an answer. They shoved the aunt aside and barged in. Seeing Eleanor, Bella gritted her teeth and said, Eleanor, you've outdone yourself. Why are you here? Eleanor was shocked to see Bella. Where is my son? Eleanor, why are you so heartless? Hand over my son. Bella glared at Eleanor with fury in her eyes. Eleanor was taken aback. What nonsense are you spouting? What do you mean by handing over your son? I haven't seen your son. Do you dare deny that you sent the note? Bella threw the note in Eleanor's face. Eleanor, you are a mother too. How can you be so cruel? Eleanor picked up the note and sneered. Bella, have you lost your mind? How can you be so sure that I had someone send this note? The last time. You sent someone to grab my son, Eleanor. I am telling you, I won't leave the pack. Give me my son right now, Bella shouted. Mrs. Eleanor. What you are doing is illegal. Hand over Leo, or we will call the authorities. Layla interrupted. Call the authorities. Are you joking? You intruded into my house and caused a scene. I should be the one calling the authorities. Eleanor turned around and ordered the aunt, Get them out, Miss Moonshadow. There is no child here. It would be best for you to leave as soon as possible. The aunt pleaded. If I don't see my son, I won't leave. Eleanor, I know it is you who has done this. Don't deny it. Tell me where my son is, otherwise you and I will have unfinished business, Bella threatened. Why do you think your son is here? Eleanor was also furious. Nobody had ever spoken to her like that. Bella was audacious to run rampant in her house. You think it is impressive that you can bear a child. If you can bear one, then you must raise it. It is unimaginable for someone like you to lose a child. Besides you, there is no one else who would harm my son. You wicked, old witch, what will it take to stop you? Harming a child means nothing to you. Bella accused her. Bella pointed at Eleanor. What kind of heart do you have? How could you do this to such a young child? Aren't you afraid that you'll be condemned in the depths of hell? Eleanor was infuriated by Bella's scolding. She was used to being arrogant, so she slapped Bella across the face. Bella didn't expect her to have the audacity to strike her at this moment. She was no longer the Bella she used to be. Naturally, she wouldn't let herself be beaten and insulted. So she reached out to block Eleanor's hand. Consumed by her anger, Bella exerted a great deal of strength. Eleanor was pushed back and fell to the ground, stirring up trouble. Eleanor got up and attempted to tear Bella apart. Oh my goddess, you dare to hit me, she scolded the aunt who stood by. Are you blind? Why aren't you here to help? Upon hearing Eleanor's command, The aunt immediately stepped forward to assist, but was stopped by Layla. Eleanor grew anxious and began cursing Bella viciously. "You little wretch, how dare you come to my house and strike me?" "Just wait until I kill you," Eleanor yelled. "If you don't hand over my son, we will go down together." Bella was so enraged by Eleanor's assault that she reached for Eleanor's hair. Catfights between women were nothing more than a few moves. After all, Eleanor was old and soon found herself at a disadvantage. However, she was not one to admit defeat and continued to curse maliciously. "You have no respect for your elders." In the heat of the moment, Alpha Xavier burst into the chaotic house. Without wasting a second, he dashed towards Layla and his aunt, both tangled up in each other. Alpha Xavier's eyes widened as he saw Bella forcefully pinning Eleanor down on the sofa, her grip tight around Eleanor's neck. Eleanor's eyes were filled with fear as she struggled to breathe. In an instant, Alpha Xavier sprang into action and pulled Bella away. Eleanor gasped for air, grateful for her son's arrival. "Alpha Xavier, you came just in time. This despicable girl invaded our home and tried to kill me." Tears and snot flowed down Eleanor's face. Alpha Xavier inspected the red mark on his mother's neck and noticed her disheveled appearance. Anger flared up in him as he turned his attention to Bella. "Bella, what in the world were you thinking?" Bella gasped, her eyes fixed on Eleanor with a burning glare. "Ask your mother what she did to deserve it. She barged into our house and attacked me for no reason." Mother and son locked eyes, and Alpha Xavier prodded Eleanor once more. "Mom, what exactly happened?" "I didn't do anything. This girl invaded our house and attacked me without cause. I am feeling so dizzy and faint," Eleanor exaggerated. "You are still pretending. Didn't you kidnap my son?" "Eleanor, God is watching you. You will pay for what you've done." Bella accused, all anger and accusation. "I didn't kidnap her son." "Alpha Xavier, please believe me. I really didn't kidnap her son," Eleanor pleaded desperately. "Don't pretend. You instructed someone to take my son away before. You must have done something again today. Eleanor, if anything happens to my son, I will make you pay with your life," Bella threatened fiercely. As the two argued, Layla's phone suddenly rang. She answered with surprise on her face. "Leo has been found. It is true. We'll be back soon." Everyone's attention shifted towards Layla's announcement. Bella's face lit up with joy. "You really found Leo?" "Yes, they found him," Layla sighed. "He fell into a ditch at the hospital." Layla pulled Bella excitedly, urging them to go back and see Leo. Eleanor quickly grabbed and stopped Bella. "Alpha Xavier, did you hear that? Her son has been found. She attacked me for no reason. I can't take it. Call the authorities and teach her a lesson. How dare she invade the Alpha's house and attack me? I want her thrown in jail." "Bella, apologize." Alpha Xavier firmly reached for Bella's hand. Bella had unlawfully entered someone's house and physically attacked them. If Eleanor involved pack authorities or even the police, it wouldn't end well for Bella. "Why should I apologize?" Bella scoffed. Pulling her hand away from Alpha Xavier's grasp, he grabbed her hand again. "If you won't apologize, then don't think about leaving today." "Alpha Xavier, Auntie, please listen to me. They say a bond exists between a mother and her child. Bella is desperate to find her son, which is why she is so upset. She didn't mean to disrespect Auntie. Please let her go this time." Samantha, who had stayed silent till now, pleaded on Bella's behalf. Bella snorted at Samantha's words. "Who asked you to act all righteous? Look at her. Look at how arrogant she is. She has no respect for the law." Eleanor seethed with anger. "Samantha, You are too kind. You've always defended this woman. I wanted to take action against her for causing your miscarriage, but you stopped me. Just thinking about it makes me angry. If this woman hadn't caused you to miscarry, my grandson would be 3 years old by now. I am calling the police to have her arrested. Eleanor shouted, bringing up past grievances. Eleanor picked up the phone, ready to dial the police. Samantha stepped in and stopped her. Auntie, please spare her this time. I beg you. She turned to Alpha Xavier and pleaded. Alpha Xavier, please convince her. Mom, let's forget about this. There is no need to escalate it any further, Alpha Xavier firmly said. Just leave. Bella, worried about Leo's situation, turned around and left with Layla. Unexpectedly, Eleanor rushed towards Bella to intercept her. No, we can't let her go. Samantha hurriedly stepped in and pulled Eleanor away. Auntie, please let her go. Eleanor was reluctant to back down and pushed Samantha aside, stepping on Bella's foot. Bella winced in pain. She hadn't expected Eleanor to lash out like that. In a split second, she retaliated with a heavy slap on Eleanor's face. Alpha Xavier's expression changed. Bella, you've crossed the line. How could you do that? Samantha also looked at Bella in shock. She attacked me and insulted me? Eleanor seethed with rage, stumbling backward. Mom? Alpha Xavier and Samantha rushed to support Eleanor. In the midst of the chaos, Bella and Layla swiftly made their exit. Bella and Layla hurried back to the hospital, their footsteps echoing in the dimly lit corridors. The nurse, who had been taking care of Leo, scowled when she saw them. Where did you go? Bella stepped into the PAX hospital, her heart pounding with worry. Where is the child? She asked urgently. The child fell into the well and got soaked all over. He has a high fever and is receiving an infusion, the nurse explained. Bella's heart ached at the news. She rushed to Leo's side, his tiny face burning red with fever. She held his hand tightly, tears welling up in her eyes. Baby, I am sorry. It is my fault. I didn't think highly of you. It is all my fault. Fortunately, he was discovered. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. The nurse interjected. Who found him? I want to thank the person who saved my son, Bella demanded. It was found by the family of a patient in the hospital. He rescued your son and left without leaving his name. The nurse replied. Fortunately, someone found him. Layla breathed a sigh of relief after Eleanor fainted. Alpha Xavier immediately laid her down and attempted to revive her. When she finally woke up, he anxiously asked, Mom, how do you feel? Eleanor stared at her son for a moment, her eyes welling up with tears. In the past, you always put the blame on me. You said that my mother abused her. My mother also admitted that she would not be cruel to her because she gave birth to a child, but you saw what happened today with your own eyes. She rushed home without any evidence. If you hadn't come quickly, she would have strangled me to death. Before leaving, she even slapped me in front of you. No matter what, I am still her ex-wife and elder. Does she have any feelings for me? Alpha Xavier fell silent, contemplating the situation. Bella had indeed gone too far, but his mother was not a good person either. There had to be a mystery behind what had happened today. After a long pause, he finally spoke. Mom, did you threaten her with her child? I did threaten her, but I just wanted to scare her and make her retreat. I didn't intend to hurt the child at all, Eleanor admitted without hesitation. Mom, you threatened a mother with a child. Do you think that mother should put up with it? Alpha Xavier realized that his mother must have done something to provoke Bella's anger. Are you blaming me? But I am doing it for your own good, Eleanor defended herself. You only have that woman in your heart. I am waiting to have a grandson. Mom, I understand that you are doing this for my own good, but I am my own person, not a puppet. I have my own thoughts. Please don't impose your thoughts on me again. Okay, Xavier pleaded. Well, I won't impose my thoughts on you, but I can't let this matter go like this today. I can't just go home and beat people without any reason. How can I face others if this matter gets out? I won't let go of Bella. I must make her pay the price, Eleanor declared cruelly. Mom. Alpha Xavier rubbed his temples in frustration. Alpha Xavier. I am your mother, the one who gave birth to you and raised you. Are you just going to stand by and watch her hit me like that? Are you not going to do anything? Eleanor cried out. Seeing Alpha Xavier remaining silent, Eleanor pretended to get up. If you don't call the police, I'll call them myself. There are security cameras installed at home. I'll hand the video to the police. I don't believe she can escape the law. Mom, please let her go. She is already in a pitiful state. Alpha Xavier pleaded. Auntie, please release Bella. It is not easy for her to take care of a child alone. She must have been so anxious today that she acted irrationally. Samantha, who had been silent all this time, stepped in to persuade Eleanor. Samantha, you are too kind and pure. If she were half as sensible and obedient as you, do you think I would treat her like this? Eleanor sneered with deep hatred. I don't care. I can't be at a disadvantage like this. What do you want? Will you feel better after sending her to prison for a few days? Mom, she is still injured. She has a child to raise, and her child is only 3 years old. Can you bear that? Xavier's irritation grew. Yes. Auntie has a child. The child is so young. Please let go of Bella for the sake of the child, Samantha pleaded. The image of the lovely boy appeared in Eleanor's mind. She knew firsthand the importance of a child to a mother, but she was still unwilling to let go of Bella. It is okay if you want me to spare her. You must promise me one thing. What is it? Xavier asked cautiously. You cut ties with her. Get engaged to Samantha immediately. Don't be in contact with her anymore. Eleanor imposed her conditions, her voice laced with venom and determination. Alpha Xavier stood in silence, his stoic expression revealing nothing. Samantha, standing by his side, abruptly interrupted the tense silence. Auntie, I've already broken up with Alpha Xavier, she announced. Eleanor's eyes widened, shock evident on her face. What did you say? When did this happen? She exclaimed, unable to hide her surprise. We broke up yesterday. Auntie, please don't blame Alpha Xavier. It was my decision to end things. I am exhausted, and I don't want to hold on anymore, Samantha explained. You are lying to me. Alpha Xavier must have suggested the breakup for Bella's sake, right? Eleanor locked her gaze on Alpha Xavier, clearly suspicious. No, it has nothing to do with Alpha Xavier. The breakup was entirely my choice. I no longer want to continue like this. Eleanor's eyes darted between Samantha and Alpha Xavier, her expression filled with disbelief. She shook her head and suddenly collapsed. This time not feigning unconsciousness but truly fainting. Never in her wildest imagination did Eleanor anticipate that Bella would storm into her house causing trouble. While it was true that she hadn't been able to win Bella over, the sight of Bella barging in so aggressively to confront Eleanor gave her an idea. Eleanor knew that Bella, fiery and determined, would never back down if her son was taken away from her. If she managed to incite Bella and make her act irrationally towards her, she could force Alpha Xavier to make a choice. Thus, she purposefully withheld the fact that her actions were meant to provoke Bella, even striking her in anger. As anticipated, Bella was infuriated, nearly strangling Eleanor in her anger. With their confrontation playing out so openly, Eleanor saw an opportunity to take matters to extremes. Observing her son's silent defense of Bella and his insistence on asking Bella to apologize, Eleanor's anger soared to new heights, despising him intensely. Grabbing hold of Bella, Eleanor sought to force her son to make a choice in person. To her surprise, Bella slapped her across the face. Dizziness consumed her in the midst of her fury, allowing Bella and Layla to flee. But even in her dizzy state, Eleanor caught a glimpse of her son's distress. It seemed he wasn't as callous as she had thought, for he still held feelings for his mother. Faking unconsciousness, Eleanor pondered the idea of sending Bella to jail to coerce her son into making a choice. Planning to arrange his engagement to Samantha, yet never did she anticipate Samantha claiming to have broken up with her son. The realization that all her efforts could be unraveling left Eleanor truly lightheaded. It was well past midnight when Pamela anxiously awaited her daughter's return in the living room. The absence of her daughter indicated that their plan was progressing accordingly. It was Pamela who orchestrated Leo's removal, threatening Bella with Leo earlier. Taking him away now would surely raise suspicions against Eleanor. Being no stranger to Eleanor's wickedness, Pamela knew Eleanor would seize any opportunity to put on a good show. However, she couldn't be certain if the events had played out as they intended. Finally, she heard the door open. Pamela approached Samantha, her heart racing. "How did everything go?" she asked with anticipation. "Mom, let's talk in our room," Samantha whispered. The mother and daughter disappeared behind closed doors, where Samantha shared the day's events with Pamela. Pamela gave her daughter a proud smile. "Well done. Adapt to the situation and seize opportunities whenever they arise. Even if that wretched woman suspects your intentions, there is nothing she can do." But did Eleanor suspect that you were involved in her getting slapped? No. The chaos was intense. She never expected me to be involved in her getting slapped. I had thought Alpha Xavier would retaliate when Bella slapped Eleanor. That would have crushed Bella. It is frustrating that he did nothing, Samantha admitted, her disbelief evident. Pamela sneered and replied, "Alpha Xavier is quite the dutiful son, isn't he?" Despite his mother being struck, he remained composed. "Yes. I never expected him to endure it. But Mom, I think he is reaching his limit," Samantha expressed her confusion. After taking Eleanor to the hospital alongside Alpha Xavier, Samantha witnessed his terrifyingly cold expression. Everyone has their limits. Alpha Xavier indulged Bella's antics at home, tolerated her harming Eleanor, but there was a point where his patience would run out. "Really?" Pamela sneered. "It is not just because he loves Bella, it is also guilt that drives him. Bella has suffered greatly and Alpha Xavier feels obligated to make it up to her. But he forgets that you've suffered too, my dear. This time, he'll have to make it up to you." "Mom, do you really think he will?" Samantha asked, uncertain. "Yes. Just follow my lead," Pamela whispered confidently to Samantha, who nodded in agreement. Leo's body burned with fever, worrying Bella to no end. In the midst of his illness, he briefly woke up and shared a frightening tale with his mother. "Mom, a bad person took me and threw me into a scary ditch. I cried out for help, but then a nice man came and saved me." Bella's anger surged, her teeth clenching tightly. Eleanor, that old woman, had the nerve to claim innocence. How could someone harm a 3-year-old for no reason? It had to be Eleanor who sent someone to hurt Leo. She wanted to create a rift between Alpha Xavier and Bella. It didn't surprise Bella that this old woman would provoke her in such a way. If anything happened to Leo, Bella swore she wouldn't let Eleanor escape justice. Leo drifted back to sleep, and Bella stood by his hospital bed, feeling anxious. Just then, Samantha called her. "Sister, should we meet?" "What do you want?" Bella asked, her anger subsiding. "I have something important to tell you," Samantha said on the phone. There is no room for empty words. It is about the child. If you don't come, you'll regret it. I'll be waiting for you at the cafe near the hospital. Samantha finished and ended the call. Bella realized Samantha was involved with Leo, so she asked George to take care of him and rushed to the cafe. She saw Samantha waiting for her and approached. Is something wrong with the child? No, Bella replied, taking a seat. What is the important matter? Samantha carefully studied Bella's face. Sister, are you okay? Yesterday's situation really scared me. Miss Eleanor has a volatile temper. If you can keep her happy, don't go against her. If she does something extreme, the consequences will be unimaginable. The consequences are unimaginable, Bella scoffed. Isn't Eleanor threatening me with my own child? I am telling you, if anything happens to my child, I won't let her get away with it. It is not just a threat to you and the child. Samantha admitted Eleanor's involvement in Leo's abduction. After you left last night, Alpha Xavier had a huge fight with Miss Eleanor and wanted to have you arrested. It was Alpha Xavier and I who desperately stopped him, so we didn't do it. Are you trying to act righteous? Bella interrupted. Sister, you misunderstand me. I never meant to harm you. Samantha lied. Samantha, you have no shame. You knew Alpha Xavier was my mate. Yet you still tried to have a child with him. Didn't you betray me when you had an affair behind my back? Bella asked, her tone icy. Sister, you misunderstand us. Alpha Xavier and I are not what you think, Samantha explained. In the past, you couldn't have a child, and Miss Eleanor was so cruel to you. Mom and Dad were worried, so they asked me to give birth to a child for you to maintain your marriage with Alpha Xavier. I initially refused, but Mom apologized and asked me to make it up to her. So I had no choice but to agree. Samantha revealed. What did you say? Beta Craig and Pamela came up with this sick plan. Bella was stunned. How could Beta Craig and Pamela come up with such a vile scheme? She couldn't believe it. How could they be so shameless? Mom and Dad were also concerned for you, so they suggested this idea. Sister, Alpha Xavier and I had a child solely for you. Our original intention was all because of you. Samantha claimed innocently. For me, Samantha? Do you think I am a fool? Bella snapped back, not buying Samantha's words at all. Bella sneered. Do you think others can't see through your love for him? What do you mean by saying it is for my own good? Are you daring to say that you want to seize the opportunity to become Xavier's wife? You are just as shameless as that woman's mother. You want to take the position of being the Alpha's Luna. Sister, you can't insult my mother like this. She did it for your own good and sacrificed me to help you, Samantha argued. She continued. I do love Alpha Xavier, but I've always kept this love hidden in my heart. I am willing to have a child for him and do anything for him, but I've never considered replacing you, sister. I am really not as awful as you think, she howled shamelessly, declaring her undying love for Alpha Xavier and her willingness to bear his child. Bella was seething with anger. I have my own eyes, Samantha. This little trick of yours may fool those who are blind, but you can't deceive me. You and your mother are cut from the same cloth. Selfish and unscrupulous. Willing to do anything to achieve your goals. What have you done for me? What have you done to protect my marriage? And yet, you dare to be engaged to Alpha Xavier. Bella shouted. Miss Eleanor forced me into it. Alpha Xavier and I never intended to become engaged. He has been waiting for you. But when you didn't return, Miss Eleanor forced our hand, Samantha explained pitifully. Sister, I brought you here today to explain. Alpha Xavier loves you deeply. I have made the decision to leave him. You can be with him, Samantha pleaded. Pa, you are a master at defending yourself. Bella sneered. He didn't need to be forced into anything. Was he forced into your bed? Whether Samantha was speaking the truth or not, it mattered little to Bella. The hurt she had endured could not be assuaged by words alone. Since you love that vile, deceitful man and are willing to do anything for him, then be with him. I, Bella, have no use for the help or pity of others, Bella declared with dignity. With that, she rose to leave. Samantha stepped forward, blocking her path. Sister, I beg you, forgive me, forgive Alpha Xavier. We didn't betray you. We truly didn't. Let go. Bella glared at Samantha. No. If you won't forgive Alpha Xavier, then I won't let go. Samantha held onto Bella's hand tightly. As a tall figure appeared outside, Samantha's expression grew even more solemn. Sister, I implore you, return to Alpha Xavier. The love he holds is solely for you. Don't call me sister. I am not your sister. Bella interrupted her. Samantha, it is all in the past. Spare me your hollow words and do not utter such repugnant lies. As the saying goes, a good wolf doesn't mate with one who has been taken by others. Alpha Xavier has been defiled by someone else. No matter how lowly I may be, I won't use a wolf who has been used by another. Samantha clutched onto Bella's clothes, refusing to let go. It was said clothes she gripped, but it was Bella's flesh that she squeezed tightly, twisting it painfully. The agony in Bella's heart intensified, and in her desperation, she shoved Samantha away. Unable to maintain her balance, Samantha fell to the ground and struck her head on the corner of the table, causing blood to immediately flow. Bella, what have you done? Alpha Xavier stormed in and helped Samantha to her feet. He had heard Samantha had gone to see Bella, and his concern for a potential confrontation led him to rush over. When he arrived, he overheard Samantha begging Bella to come back to him. Yet, Bella continued to berate her with vile words. It pained him deeply. Finally, witnessing Bella forcefully push Samantha aside, he could no longer remain on the sidelines. His eyes burned with fury as he confronted Bella. How could you be so ruthless? She is your sister, your kin. Sister? The spawn of a mistress is nothing but an accursed sibling. Bella's heart twisted at the sight of Alpha Xavier's concern for Samantha. 3 years prior, he had treated her so callously. Now, he showered her with tender care. But knowing that their son lay ill in the hospital due to Eleanor's machinations, Bella's hatred for him grew even stronger. Alpha Xavier, go back and tell your wretched mother that if any harm befalls my son, her life will be forfeit. Bella seethed. Bella, do not push me too far, Alpha Xavier retorted, his rage surging forth. He had endured her earlier outburst, but this time he could not remain silent. I push you too far. I insult your mother. Bella laughed bitterly. Alpha Xavier, you will come to regret this. I swear you will regret it. With those ominous words, she turned on her heel and strode away. Seeing Bella striding away without looking back, Alpha Xavier's eyes darkened. Samantha said with tears in her eyes, Alpha Xavier, go after my sister and explain it to her. I am fine. Why should we explain it to her? We didn't do anything wrong. Alpha Xavier helped Samantha up. I'll take you to the hospital to bandage your wound. Samantha was being bandaged by the doctor in the operating room, and Alpha Xavier was distracted standing outside alone. How could she be so cruel to that woman? How could she be so heartless? A surprised voice rang out. Alpha Xavier, why are you here? Alpha Xavier turned around and saw Itzel walking over. Auntie Itzel. Alpha Xavier nodded politely at Itzel. Alpha Xavier, I have something to ask you. Itzel pulled him aside. I heard from your mother that you broke up with Samantha. Is that true? Alpha Xavier nodded. It is true. That is good. That is good. I don't have to worry anymore. Itzel looked relieved. What is wrong, Auntie Itzel? Itzel had always been on good terms with Samantha. How could she say something like that? I am telling you, Alpha Xavier. You can't say that to anyone else. Samantha had a miscarriage 3 years ago. Itzel lowered her voice and said, Latter. She was not in good health and had a very serious cervical illness. Some time ago, she came to see me. I checked and found that her body was no longer suitable for pregnancy. What did you say? Alpha Xavier was stunned. 3 years ago, an accidental miscarriage caused serious harm to her body. I am afraid Samantha can't have a child in this life. Itzel sighed. A good child, so beautiful, so pure and kind. Why does God treat her like this? Alpha Xavier was stunned by this news. How could this be, Auntie Itzel? Are you sure? Alpha Xavier. I am a gynecologist. Can I lie to you? Itzel sighed. The last time I found out that Samantha was in poor health, my heart had been heavy. You know, your mother wanted a grandson so much. If she knew that Samantha couldn't give birth, she would definitely not accept it. But I have known her for many years, and I didn't want to deceive her. I was in a dilemma. I just went to see her, and she told me that Samantha broke up with you. She said that Samantha took the initiative to break up with you. I was finally relieved, but I felt a little pity for Samantha. She is such a good girl. Itzel told Xavier, of course. It was a new lie to trap Xavier in this unwanted mating bond. Alpha Xavier turned around in a daze. Samantha wouldn't give birth because of an accidental miscarriage 3 years ago. He couldn't imagine that Samantha was innocent. Itzel was right. She was so kind that she shouldn't have suffered such pain. It was all because of him. Everything was because of his mother. He had to make up for Samantha. His mother and Bella were like fire and water. Now his mother was lying in the hospital bed, saying that she wanted Bella to go to jail. But Bella didn't understand his painstaking efforts at all. Bella's heartless words flashed through his mind. A good horse doesn't eat grass at the end of the road. Alpha Xavier has been eaten by someone. Bella will never use a man who has been used by others, no matter how cheap I am. No matter how cheap you are, you won't use a man who has been used by others. Ha! Bella, how can you be so cruel? How can you convict me without an explanation? You don't want me. Since you don't want me, I'll marry anyone. I'll marry Samantha. After a few days, Leo's fever finally subsided. Bella and George took Leo out of the hospital. Because they didn't find a house, they stayed at Layla's house for the time being. Bella began to look for a house. She went to several real estate agency companies. But in the end, they were not settled because the house price was too high. Later, Layla called her and said that she saw a piece of rent information on the internet. The rent was very cheap. She contacted the landlord and asked Bella to go see the house immediately. The house was a 3-room house, which was beautifully decorated. The landlord said that he wanted to rent the house abroad, not to earn rent, but to get someone to look after the house. The rent was not a problem. First of all, people should get along well with each other. After meeting with Bella, the landlord expressed his willingness to rent the house to Bella. However, it was forbidden for her to raise pets. He wanted her to take care of the house as if it were her own, Bella promised. When he learned from her conversation with the landlord that she was a single mother, the landlord was very sympathetic and lowered the rent by a lot. He also said that if it was really difficult for Bella to pay a month's rent first, she could pay the rest when she had money at the end of the year. Bella was very grateful to meet such a good person. She simply thanked him. Later, she signed the contract with the landlord and paid the rent for 3 months. Bella breathed a sigh of relief when the house was settled. Alpha Carl asked Lucas to tell her not to rush to work first, but to come back to work after everything was settled. If it weren't for Eleanor, Samantha, and other disgusting people, Bella would have thought that her life was actually quite good. When she went back, she was in a particularly good mood. She told George about the house she found. George was very happy. I really met a good person. Leo was also very excited when he heard that he had a separate room. Mom, I really want to go see my new home. Okay, I'll take you to see the house tomorrow. Bella touched his little head and smiled. It was a burst of laughter. Bella's phone rang. She picked it up and saw that it was Beta Craig. What is the matter? Bella, come out. I have something to tell you. George did not have a good impression of Beta Craig, but Beta Craig knew that he would not show up in front of George. Because of Samantha's words, Bella was full of resentment for Beta Craig. Now that he comes to her, she happened to ask him. So she went to see Beta Craig. Beta Craig had just seen Bella smile kindly. Bella, I've already packed up the house. It is arranged according to your preferences. Move in over. My preferences? I didn't expect that Beta Craig still remembers what I like. It is really surprising. Bella growled, her words dripping with disdain. George, if you are willing, you can move in with us. Beta Craig snarled, his fangs bared in a smile. Don't you think it is a lie? Bella sneered, her eyes glowing with wolfish fury. My uncle won't live in your house even if he is a beggar. He has a prejudice against me. Beta Craig grumbled, his voice laced with frustration. If someone kills your sister, will you have no prejudice against him? Bella bared her teeth, her growl echoing through the air. Bella, don't listen to George's family. He is not a good person. Craig's voice trailed off. Are you a good person? Bella interrupted him, her eyes burning with anger. Beta, I want to know if you supported the matter between Alpha Xavier and Samantha that year? I am sorry, Bella. Beta Craig whimpered, his head lowered in guilt, the weight of his past actions pressing heavily on his conscience. Why did he listen to Pamela and let Samantha get pregnant to save Bella's marriage? Pamela had cried and pleaded, claiming she wanted to atone for her sins. She had told him about Eleanor's cruelty towards Samantha, and he foolishly agreed. But later he had tried to go back on his word, only to find out that Samantha had already undergone a life-altering operation. Beta Craig now realized the gravity of his mistake. He had acted out of love for Bella, but his actions had caused her immeasurable pain. And to make matters worse, he had unwittingly attached another deceitful daughter to his name. As the years went by, the weight of his regret grew. Gnawing at his soul, he felt like a monster, a disgrace to his daughters. Bella had left, cutting off all contact with him. He deeply regretted his actions, but he knew that regret alone couldn't undo the damage he had caused. Samantha claimed it was Beta Craig's idea at the time, but Bella was still skeptical. However, seeing Beta Craig's remorseful expression now, she couldn't help but feel a pang of pain in her heart. How could her noble and intelligent mother choose such a repulsive man? How could she have such a disgraceful and immoral father? Bella, I was wrong at that time. I should have discussed it with you before making a decision. Pamela and Samantha also want to compensate you. Don't hate them. We never thought about hurting you. Our original intention has always been for your own good. Her father Beta Craig pleaded, hoping she could understand. For me, Bella scoffed, her voice dripping with bitter sarcasm. Beta Craig dared to defend that woman and her daughter even now. Did he think she was a fool? Even the most naive of fools could see through Samantha's intentions toward Alpha Xavier. Aside from her initial attempts to gain favor with Eleanor before their marriage, Samantha continued to intrude on Bella's life, trying to win Alpha Xavier's attention whenever she got the chance. As long as Samantha had any desire for him, she and Eleanor would never be able to coexist peacefully. Are you blind, deaf, and delusional? Bella snarled at Beta Craig, her eyes blazing with fiery anger. If those two witches truly had my best interests at heart, they would have stayed far away after the truth came out. At the very least, they should have stayed away from Alpha Xavier. But what happened instead? Bella remarked with disdain. Bella, Samantha, and Alpha Xavier being together was not intentional. After your divorce, Eleanor came with a proposal for Alpha Xavier's marriage. I strongly objected at the time. But later, Eleanor gave up and tried to find someone else for Alpha Xavier. Then Beta Craig began to explain. What happened then? Bella sneered, her voice laced with venom. Later, the media caught Samantha and Alpha Xavier together, and rumors spread that he accompanied her to the hospital. To protect Samantha's reputation, I had to admit it, Beta Craig confessed. Beta Craig only revealed a fraction of the truth. In reality, he had initially wanted to take responsibility for his actions. But when the news broke, he was too afraid to speak out and risk losing his position as Beta. Bella couldn't help but laugh bitterly. This must have been a scheme planned by Samantha and her mother to achieve their goals. Their acting skills were pathetic, yet Beta Craig, a man of power, fell for their lies. It seemed that Samantha and her mother had truly bewitched him. Bella, I am sorry for what happened between Samantha and Alpha Xavier. I'll make it up to you, Beta Craig pleaded, desperation evident in his eyes. He wanted nothing more than to make amends for his daughter and ensure she had a better future. Make it up? How will you make it up? Bella snarled, her voice laced with contempt. I'll leave all my property and family to you. Samantha has promised not to take a single penny after she is married, Beta Craig offered sincerely. Bella sneered at his words. How much money do you have compared to the wealth of someone like Alpha Xavier? Her words were a clear indication that Beta Craig was well aware of his insignificance. He smiled bitterly and replied, Bella, although my father's assets may be comparable to Alpha Xavier's, they are still substantial. We have antiques and ancient paintings worth a fortune, but I bet Pamela and Samantha know nothing about these assets. Do they? Bella sneered, a glint of mischief in her eyes. If your mistress and illegitimate daughter find out about the treasure trove you possess, there will surely be a spectacular show. Would you like me to tell them? Bella. Beta Craig's expression changed, panic flooding his face. It was true that Pamela knew nothing of his hidden collection. He didn't want her to know that he had amassed these treasures for Bella's sake. I was merely jesting. Don't take it to heart. Bella smiled sarcastically. I have no interest in your property. Keep it and spend it at your leisure. You can take it to the grave with you if you can't use it. Furthermore, please stay out of my life. I feel nothing but shame when I see you. With those final words, Bella turned and left. Beta Craig watched her go, his face drained of color. Bella was just like her mother, a wolf in the same mold. Bella's fury knew no bounds. Beta Craig, a long-standing member of the werewolf kingdom and council, had betrayed her trust and used his official connections against her. If she had truly cared about those riches, she would never have let Xavier get away with such an easy divorce. But what truly angered her was how easily Beta Craig had been deceived. He was no fool, so why did he tolerate that woman and her daughter? It must have been for his own selfish gain. A person who could forsake family for personal gain had no right to be her father. At this point, Bella felt nothing but indifference towards Beta Craig. Back at home, Bella felt a deep sense of depression. Concerned, George asked her, "What did he want from you?" Letting out a heavy sigh. Bella told George that Beta Craig and Pamela had asked Samantha to have a child for Alpha Xavier. Before this, Bella had only revealed to George and Alpha Xavier that her husband had cheated on her. But she had never mentioned that Samantha was the one with whom he had cheated. Hearing this, George trembled with anger. So, Pamela's daughter is the one who had an affair with Alpha Xavier. They are all despicable. The hatred in her heart burned for Pamela, who had seduced Beta Craig. And now her daughter had stolen Bella's husband. It was truly a despicable act. What is the use of getting angry, Uncle? It is not worth it, Bella tried to comfort him. At that time, her fury had clouded her judgment, causing her to physically confront Samantha. Now, looking back, she realized how laughable her actions were. If she hadn't been blinded by anger, could Samantha really have made Beta Craig fall for her? But what infuriated her the most was that he had demanded harsh conditions for Samantha's divorce. Once the truth was revealed, Bella loathed herself for not seeing through his deceit. Bella, you should have told me. If I had known that Pamela's daughter was his mistress, I would have done whatever it took to make Beta Craig pay, George said through gritted teeth. Bella comforted him. Beta Craig and his daughter are not worthy of our anger. They don't deserve it. We should focus on living our own lives. If that is the case, then I won't give up. How could someone as clever and pure as your mother choose such a man? George sighed. At that time, many people pursued your mother. Beta Craig was not someone outstanding at all. I thought he had ulterior motives, but your mother believed his promotion was worth entrusting her life to the wealthy. Oh, if only I had stopped her back then. Ulterior motives? What happened? Bella asked, confused. George didn't continue. Instead, he sighed and said, back then, one of your mother's friends entrusted her with valuable ancient paintings. Later, it was discovered that those paintings were fake. Bella didn't understand how this related to Beta Craig. What does this have to do with him? The person pursuing your mother at that time was Beta Craig. George's voice trailed off. Bella's heart sank. Are you saying he stole the painting? George nodded. I can only suspect, as there is no evidence. It is possible that your mother's friend was deceived and bought a fake. Uncle, he must be the one. Bella's face burned with anger. She recalled Beta Craig bragging about priceless antiques and paintings in his family. George's face turned dark. Are you telling the truth? He said it himself, claiming that those antiques and paintings were invaluable. Bella affirmed. It is him, that scoundrel. George slammed his fist on the table, his face livid with rage. How shameless can Beta Craig be? Your mother was truly blind back then. Yes. If Mom had known she was marrying such a man, she would have wished she were dead, Bella said, her anger matching George's. Bella, you should have told me. If I knew, I would have done everything possible to help your mother's friend. George's voice trembled with anger. He didn't know who he was dealing with. He suffered because he didn't know. Uncle, who was that friend of Mom's? Bella inquired. It is all in the past now. It is all in the past, George said unsteadily. Bella, I am exhausted. Uncle needs to lie down for a while. Observing George's unsteady steps, Bella was puzzled. What is wrong with Uncle George? The next day, the news of Alpha Xavier and Samantha's engagement appeared in the headlines of the local werewolf media. Bella saw the news while at Layla's house. She noticed that the person leading the press conference was none other than Eleanor, the public relations manager of Alpha Xavier's company. Bella couldn't believe her eyes. Eleanor looked kind and amiable, wearing a smile on her face. This was a different Eleanor from the one Bella remembered when she married Alpha Xavier. Back then, she had never seen Eleanor smile, but now, Eleanor's face was full of a smile as if she had found a treasure. It seemed she genuinely liked Samantha. Alpha Xavier, dressed formally, had a charming smile on his handsome face. It turned out he himself announced the date of his engagement with Samantha. Cameras flashed at the press conference. And Bella was stunned as she saw the smile on Alpha Xavier's face. Even Leo saw the news on television and pointed at Alpha Xavier, asking Bella, "Mom, is Uncle getting married?" "Yes," Bella responded, snapped out of her daze. "He lied." "He told me before that he didn't have a girlfriend," Leo said sadly. "I liked him so much. How could he lie to me?" "And Uncle Alpha Carl, he said he would be my father." "I called him father, but he doesn't want us anymore," Leo exclaimed, his voice filled with frustration. Bella reached out and hugged Leo tight. Her heart ached intensely. Fortunately, Leo didn't know Alpha Xavier was his father. How heartbroken would he be if he found out? Bella vowed to never let Leo know that his father was such a despicable person. Leo was but a child, his playfulness evident as he entertained himself with toys. The door creaked open, interrupting his solitude. George, a bristling wolf on the hunt for fruit, returned empty-handed and fuming. "Uncle, where are the fruits? Why have you come back with naught but empty hands?" "Bella, are you well?" George's concern etched deeply on his werewolf face as he turned his gaze towards Bella. "I am fine," Bella replied, a cunning smile dancing across her lips. George was afraid that sorrow would engulf her upon hearing the news of Alpha Xavier and Samantha's engagement. "Uncle, I have long given up on him. I am not saddened by it. Not in the slightest. Child?" "Oh, poor child." George's heart ached at Bella's feigned strength. "I promised you that my mother would take care of you. But my uncle failed to fulfill that promise. I have always let you suffer. I am sorry for your mother. I am even more sorry for you. Uncle, you have been kind to me. I would have been destitute if not for you." Bella's words overflowed with sincerity. George had taken her in and raised her as his own, not only an uncle but a father figure to her. The more George pondered, the angrier he grew. "I cannot let those wretched creatures, the wicked mother and daughter, succeed in their malicious plot. I must expose their scheme. I must shatter their hopes and bring them to ruin. They are willing to harm each other. Let us watch as their families tear each other apart," Bella said, her voice filled with intrigue as she tugged at George's sleeve. "It is not worth it for you," George cautioned. "If not for that wretched mother and daughter, you would not have endured such pain. Everything that little Hellcat possesses is rightfully yours. It is yours. Uncle Worth does not matter. Each person has their own goals. I never desired to be the daughter of a secretary or a noble wife. My goal is simple. I want to live with my beloved family and be happy every day. And now you and Leo are all I rely on. I am content and exceedingly happy," George sighed. "Bella, I did not expect you to be more open-minded than your uncle. You are right. Contentment and happiness are indeed invaluable." In the dead of night, Leo's body burned with fever. Bella and Layla rushed him to the hospital, but this fever was unlike any other medication, and drips proved futile against its merciless grip. Leo's raging fever mimicked that of early-stage leukemia. The doctor recommended a thorough blood examination. Upon analyzing Leo's blood, the doctor's discovery struck him with awe. The abnormal temperature hinted at the possibility of leukemia infecting the child. Bella could not fathom accepting this wretched truth. She doubted the veracity of the hospital's diagnosis. So, once Leo's condition stabilized slightly, she whisked him away abroad, relentlessly seeking answers. Alpha Zachary accompanied Bella and Leo on an arduous journey, visiting numerous hospitals. The result remained constant. Leo had acquired acute marrow cancer, which offered him a 30 to 40% chance of surviving the next 5 years. The initial treatment involved medication to curtail the disease's progression, followed by a painstaking search for compatible bone marrow. If found, A bone marrow transplant could be attempted, but even with a transplant, complete recovery was not guaranteed. The odds stood at a mere 80%, yet 80% hope was worth its weight in gold. Bella and Leo underwent tests to find a suitable bone marrow match. But alas, the results came back negative. The hospital scoured far and wide, desperately seeking a donor. Their harrowing quest painted a vivid picture of the challenges they faced. Within a few days, Bella's humanity began to unravel. Alpha Zachary put his work on hold to provide unwavering support. The doctor, observing the toll this had taken on Bella, suggested another method for treating Leo's illness, a blood transplant from a sibling. The doctor advised Bella to conceive a child with Leo's biological father. By utilizing the newborn's blood, they could treat Leo's leukemia. Seated in the hospital chair, Bella's mind whirled. Alpha Zachary sat beside her. It may take time, and there is no guarantee we will find a match. But I believe this birthing method is feasible. To bear a child with that repulsive man. I despise him. Bella shook her head vehemently. Bella, for the sake of Leo, no matter what you must do, you must consider it. You can reveal the truth to him. After all, he is his child. No matter what, he will surely care deeply for his own flesh and blood, Alpha Zachary urged. I know him all too well. His engagement to Samantha signifies his devotion to her. I refuse to humiliate myself, Bella declared. And how can you know without trying? For our child's sake, even if the odds are 1 in 10,000, we must try. Can you bear to see Leo suffer endlessly? Zachary implored. He is my child, and the bond between mother and child is unbreakable. How could I willingly watch him endure such torment? Bella covered her face, her heart breaking. Must I yield to that disgusting man? Men and toothbrushes cannot be shared. Alpha Xavier is vile, utterly abhorrent. Bella, now is not the time for rash actions. You must consider the child. Alpha Xavier and Samantha will be engaged in 2 days' time. You must halt the impending union, Zachary advised. Under Alpha Zachary's persuasive sway, Bella dialed Alpha Xavier's number, etched in her memory for years. Without hesitation, she reached out to him, uncertain of what awaited her at the other end. Chapter 121. Hello. Alpha Xavier's voice was heavy with drowsiness due to the time difference. It is me, Bella controlled herself. When she heard that it was Bella's voice, his indifference immediately faded away. Is there something wrong? Alpha Xavier. Can I please ask you for one thing? What is it? Can you not be engaged to Samantha? Her cracked lips licked nervously as she finally managed to say a complete sentence. I am afraid I can't. Alpha Xavier suspected something was off. If she had made this request a few days ago, he would have been overjoyed and given her a positive answer immediately. But now, he felt a sense of irony. So he answered honestly, Alpha Xavier. If you don't get engaged to Samantha, I will think about how to reunite with you. It took tremendous courage for her to utter those words. But Alpha Xavier sneered and replied, You and I together, is that so? Alpha Xavier. Why don't you ask me why I want to reunite with you? Bella felt incredibly humiliated. It was a shame for her to ask her ex-husband for help. She didn't want to subject herself to his humiliation, but she had to endure it for the sake of her son. Miss Moonshadow. Everything has its time limit. You bring this up only after I announced my engagement to Samantha. Don't you think it is too late? Alpha Xavier sneered. He had carefully considered the engagement with Samantha. It had nothing to do with love. He simply wanted to give her an explanation. Most importantly, he didn't believe that Bella genuinely wanted to reunite with him. She loathed Samantha and Pamela. He believed her call was merely a means for revenge. He wouldn't be a pawn in her quest for vengeance. I am telling you clearly, no matter what reason you have, I won't give up my engagement with Samantha. After saying this, he abruptly ended the call. She didn't want anything to do with him. But for the sake of her child, she had to swallow her pride. Bella bit her lip and called Alpha Xavier again. The phone rang twice before being hung up. When she tried calling again, it was switched off. The mechanical voice on the phone echoed in Bella's trembling body, leaving her pale. How could Alpha Xavier be so heartless? How could he be like this? Alpha Xavier's cruel words kept replaying in her mind. No matter what reason you have, I won't give up my engagement with Samantha. Alpha Xavier, you will regret this. I swear you will regret it. How did your conversation with Alpha Xavier go? No one knew how long she had been standing there. When Alpha Zachary reached out to touch her, she finally snapped back to reality. He said no matter what my reason was, he wouldn't give up on Samantha. Did he really say that? Alpha Zachary was shocked. Did you not mention the child? He said no matter what reason I had, he wouldn't give up on Samantha. I understand Alpha Xavier very well. Like me, he is stubborn. Once he makes up his mind, he won't back down. Bella shook her head. Seems I underestimated Samantha in his heart. What should we do then? Alpha Zachary frowned. Bella, just tell him about the child. He may be ruthless, but he is not heartless. Call him again. It is useless. His phone is off. Bella smiled bitterly. She wanted to tell him the truth, but he didn't give her a chance. How can that be? Alpha Zachary sighed. Bella, don't worry. Try calling him again in a few hours. He can't keep his phone off forever. Bella didn't respond. Leo's doctor, the attending physician, approached them and saw the sadness on their faces. He asked, "What do you think? Have you made a decision about the treatment?" Alpha Zachary forced a bitter smile. Your suggestion doesn't seem very feasible. The child's father is about to marry someone else. Why can't you have the baby? The doctor shook his head. You are being too old-fashioned. You don't need to marry him to have a child. It is just a matter of sperm. The doctor's words triggered a realization in Bella. How could she forget that medical technology was advanced? It really was just a matter of sperm. As long as she could find a way to obtain Alpha Xavier's sperm. Alpha Zachary, I have a solution. Bella's elation was tinged with embarrassment. Though it depended on the red essence, it wouldn't be easy to obtain it. Alpha Xavier wouldn't let her have it so easily. Plus, treating Leo's condition would likely cost a fortune. These were all obstacles in her path. I was naive before. Since Alpha Xavier is so heartless, why would he allow me to get what I want? Leo's treatment requires a lot of money. Hey, now it is a matter of sperm. Don't worry about money. I can handle it, Alpha Zachary reassured her. Bella pondered with her head lowered and slowly shook her head. Alpha Zachary, I already have a solution for the money problem. But the issue lies with the sperm. Do you have a way to get the money? Alpha Zachary questioned skeptically. A few days ago, Beta Craig approached me and offered a large inheritance. I vehemently refused him at the time. But now, I've figured it out. Why shouldn't I want the money? With it, I can treat Leo, I can stay with my child, and I won't have to work so hard. Bella explained. Bella, don't push yourself. Bella despised Beta Craig greatly. In the past, it had been difficult for her to not recognize him as her father. Now, one could only imagine the discomfort in her heart. I am not pushing myself. In the past, I was too stubborn. This time for my son, for him, I have no qualms about letting go of anything. Bella declared. Chapter 122. Bella's eyes narrowed with determination. Because of my weakness and escape, Leo has suffered so much. He has endured the torment of illness at such a young age. But those people who once hurt me are living a comfortable life. I suddenly figured it out. Why should I make them happy if I am not happy? I have to get those properties and make them feel uncomfortable for the rest of their lives. Alpha Zachary was taken aback by Bella's sudden change. Bella, don't be so extreme. There is nothing that can't be undone. Bella shook her head. Alpha Zachary, you don't have to persuade me anymore. I'll do what I want this time. I won't change it. Bella knew that it was not only about Alpha Xavier's fertility issue, but also about her own body. She had not had an affair with Alpha Xavier for 3 years. If she wanted a child now, she had to be able to have an affair with him. She had to ensure that there was a possibility of pregnancy in her body before she could plan. Bella immediately had a physical examination at the hospital. A few hours later, the results of the examination came out. She looked at the letter on the examination report with a shocked expression. How could this be? Alpha Zachary saw that she was not looking well and immediately took the examination report from her hand. He was also shocked. What is going on, Bella? When did you have such an operation? I haven't had an operation. I am not stupid. How could I have such an operation? Then, what is going on? Zachary said. I don't know. I don't know what is going on. Bella held her head and sat on the chair. She had been operated on before. Since that was the case, why hadn't she been checked so many times? After being shocked, Alpha Zachary immediately reacted and asked the doctor in English, can she get pregnant in such a situation? Yes. We can do the surgery for the blocked fallopian tube. What is the chance of success? Alpha Zachary asked again. Maybe 85%. The doctor answered after thinking for a while. So low? Alpha Zachary asked. No matter how low it is, I have to do it. I can't give up any method that can cure Leo's disease. First, I have to do a sperm motility test. At the same time, I have to find a bone marrow match. No matter what, it is worth a try. Alpha Zachary nodded. Okay, I'll do as you say. Alpha Zachary immediately contacted the experts to do the surgical operation for Bella. After the operation, Bella rested in the hospital for 3 days. On the 4th day, she booked a ticket and returned to the PAT. On the plane back to the country, Bella saw the news of the engagement between Alpha Xavier and Samantha. She wanted to go home first to discuss it with her uncle, but she suddenly changed her mind when she saw the engagement news. She had to go to Beta Craig's house to witness the engagement ceremony that was reported by the media. After getting off the plane in a hurry, Bella took a taxi and went straight to her family. This was the first time that she had come to Beta Craig's house in the pack after years. When she arrived at the door, the guard stopped her and did not allow her to enter. Bella looked at the shiny wall in the guard room and found herself haggard and tired. She didn't look like an honored guest of the family, but more like a person who came to collect debts. No wonder the guards stopped her. However, it didn't matter. She was indeed here to collect debt. Bella put down her luggage and smiled faintly at the guard. Please call Beta Craig and tell him that Bella is here. The guard glanced at her. Originally, he didn't want to make this call, but due to her unquestionable tone, the family was holding a wedding today. This woman might be a distant relative of Beta, so he picked up the phone and dialed. A few minutes later, Beta Craig appeared in the guard room with a surprised face. Bella, I've decided to move back. Do you welcome me? Bella's voice was full of sarcasm. Welcome. Beta Craig had just reached out to pick up Bella's luggage. I called you several times, but your phone was turned off. Later, I went to ask George about it. He said that you went abroad. What is wrong with you going abroad? Beta Craig's words were true. He had indeed called Bella several times and had gone to Bella's new home to look for her. However, George had poured water all over his face. It is a little private, Bella replied indifferently. Anyway, she had plenty of time to get along with Beta Craig in the future. There was no need for her to get into a fight with Beta Craig. Today is the day of Samantha's engagement. Beta Craig had just carefully observed Bella's face. Seeing that she did not show any sign of disgust, he continued, I invited a few guests at home and simply did it. Very good, Bella replied indifferently. Samantha and Alpha Xavier will move out after their engagement. You don't have to worry. Chapter 123. What is there to worry about? Why do you want them to move out? It is only happiness for a family to live together, Bella said with a faint smile, her voice carrying a tone of wisdom and understanding that only comes from experience. Her calm words silenced Beta Craig, making him think twice about his desire for his daughter to leave. He noticed that Bella wasn't as confrontational as before, but rather seemed indifferent and detached. He couldn't help but wonder what had changed, lost in her thoughts. Bella walked towards the family villa. It was a joyous day for Samantha and the entire family, evident from the beaming smiles on their faces. A platform had been set up in the yard, where Samantha stood beside Alpha Xavier. Both of them adorned in elegant attire. A mischievous smile tugged at Bella's lips as she watched the couple on stage. She joined in the applause, her own happiness radiating through. Beta Craig, who had been worried, felt a sense of relief at her reaction. Alpha Xavier, wearing a polite smile, slipped a ring onto Samantha's finger, his movements smooth and natural, devoid of any hesitation. In that moment, Alpha Xavier's eyes fell upon Bella, who stood clapping beneath the stage. He was momentarily stunned, losing himself in his thoughts. Samantha, seizing the opportunity, leaned in to kiss him as the applause grew louder. Bella's smile deepened, and Eleanor, her heartbeat slowing down, looked at Pamela, questioning the sudden absence of Beta Craig. He was here just a moment ago. He left after receiving a call, Pamela said, her eyes widening as she noticed Bella standing beside Beta Craig. In the distance, the housekeeper, who had been observing the engagement ceremony coldly, spotted Bella and rushed towards her. Bella, where have you been all these years? Why didn't you come back to see Aunt Malia? Aunt Malia sobbed, her voice filled with emotion. Bella ran towards Aunt Malia, her excitement evident as she embraced the older woman. Aunt Malia had been like a second mother to her. Always caring and kind, Pamela and Eleanor approached cautiously, their initial impression of Bella being that she was here to cause trouble. Eleanor stood in front of Bella, ready to confront her. What are you doing here? Bella narrowed her eyes and glanced at Eleanor disdainfully. Madam, who are you in this family? Eleanor blushed, taken aback by Bella's contemptuous tone. I am the daughter-in-law here. Really? Well, it is not your home then. What gives you the right to question me? Bella responded sharply, turning to Pamela and asking with a sly smile, Isn't that right, Mrs. Pamela? Pamela smiled awkwardly, realizing that things wouldn't go as smoothly as she had hoped. Bella had returned at the most inconvenient time, and she suspected that Bella had ulterior motives. Fortunately, the engagement ceremony was over. Bella, let's continue this discussion inside. But Eleanor, used to being domineering, wasn't willing to back down. Why bother? We can just kick her out. Bella sneered, unimpressed by Eleanor's arrogance. Since when did an outsider have a say in this family? Is there going to be another change in power? She retorted. Bella then added provocatively, It seems that Eleanor has quite the crush on Beta Craig. Eleanor was taken aback, her shock apparent to everyone. How dare Bella say such things? She was about to respond, but Bella turned towards Pamela and asked casually, "Has my room been prepared?" Pamela struggled to maintain a smile. "Your room has always been ready. Ah, the smallest, darkest, and most damp room, I assume." Bella remarked sarcastically. "No. It is actually the biggest room with lots of sunlight," Pamela replied. "Perfect," Bella replied, satisfied. She then turned to Aunt Malia, requesting her assistance in bringing her luggage upstairs. Ignoring Eleanor's confusion, Beta Craig grabbed the bags and headed towards the room. Alpha Xavier and Samantha approached, their expressions filled with curiosity. "Why is she here?" Alpha Xavier wondered, recalling the phone conversation he had abruptly ended with Bella. "If you cancel the engagement with Samantha, I will consider getting back together with you," she had said. Initially, he had dismissed her words as a threat or an attempt at revenge. He had chosen to ignore her calls, even turning off his phone. But now, seeing her smiling face and her sincere congratulations, he wondered if he had misjudged her intentions. Bella looked at Alpha Xavier and Samantha with a mocking smile. "Congratulations on your engagement. I wish you both the best of luck," she said, her words laced with hidden meaning. Samantha opened her mouth to respond, but remained silent, while Alpha Xavier sneered and replied, "Thank you, Miss Moonshadow." Chapter 124. "No thanks. That is what I should do," Bella said, her voice laced with confidence. "I'll go to my room and get some sleep." The remaining 4 people in the room felt uneasy as they watched her leave. Pamela and Samantha still maintained their smiling faces, but inside their hearts were in chaos. They didn't believe that Bella would simply do nothing. Eleanor, the most ignorant of the group, was furious at Bella's defiance. She ignored the elegant facade and asked Pamela directly, "Mrs. Pamela, what is going on? Let's talk about this later. First, let's ask the guests to leave," Pamela said, forcing a smile. They couldn't discuss the matter in front of these people. Even though there weren't many attendees at the engagement party, the most important thing for Pamela was to protect her reputation. After Ashley's death, Beta Craig had taken office in Pack A, and naturally she went with him. No one knew that Beta Craig had a first mate. All these years, she had always presented herself as his true mate. If others found out that she was actually a mistress who later got mated, she would be ashamed beyond measure. This engagement party was truly unpleasant. Despite Beta Craig's presence, his expression was not as happy as in the morning, and his attitude towards Eleanor had become a little cold. After the banquet was over and the guests who attended the party had left, Eleanor brought up Bella again. Beta Craig replied lightly, "Bella is my daughter, born of my ex-wife." Eleanor's face suddenly turned pale. If it weren't for Alpha Xavier supporting her, she would have been completely shocked. How is that possible? Isn't Bella a girl from a poor family? How did she become Beta Craig's daughter? It was impossible for Beta Craig not to know about Bella and Alpha Xavier's marriage in the pack. Pamela and Samantha knew very well that she had forced Bella to leave the house. If that was the case, why would Beta Craig agree to an engagement between his second daughter and Eleanor's son? Why is it impossible? Beta Craig looked at Eleanor with a hint of impatience in his eyes. "I'll go back first. Bella hasn't had dinner yet." As soon as Beta Craig finished speaking, he left the room. Pamela asked Eleanor to sit down, and Eleanor finally calmed down. She looked at Pamela and asked, "What the hell is going on?" Pamela sighed. "It is a long story. Bella was born to Craig and his ex-wife Ashley. There were some misunderstandings at that time. Ashley ran away from home with Bella. Later, an accident happened, and Ashley passed away. Ashley's younger brother George blamed Craig for his sister's death. He hated Craig so much that he took Bella away and changed her name. We have been searching for her all these years and we only found out recently. Pamela was skilled at telling lies. Ashley's death was caused by the mistress, but she explained it as a simple car accident in a few words. Of course, Pamela dared to say that because she knew Beta Craig would not let his family be disgraced. Ashley was dead, and Beta Craig was still alive. For the sake of her reputation, he would never admit that he cheated on her before their marriage. Upon hearing this, Alpha Xavier felt very uneasy. He got up and went outside to smoke. Seeing him leave, Pamela winked at Samantha, who immediately followed him. Alpha Xavier stood outside and lit a cigarette irritably. When he saw his mother and Pamela behaving in this way, he panicked. One was snobbish while the other was lying. They were indeed a good match for each other. When he thought of Bella's mocking gaze, he became even more flustered. Samantha walked to his side and said, "Miss Eleanor, I didn't know that I was getting pregnant because of my sister. My mother didn't want others to know about all this, so she lied to Miss Eleanor. Don't blame my mother." Samantha defended Pamela. "My mother was disgraceful at that time, but I had no choice. After all, she gave birth to me and raised me. I couldn't hate her no matter what." Alpha Xavier pondered over these words. He also had issues with Eleanor, but Eleanor was his mother. He couldn't go against his mother's wishes. "Alpha Xavier, if you find it difficult, you can break it off with me now." "I won't blame you," Samantha said, putting on a pitiful face. Alpha Xavier looked at her sorrowful appearance and forced a smile. "What are you thinking about?" Eleanor was not a fool. She didn't believe Pamela's words. What misunderstanding! Moreover, she didn't believe that Beta Craig and Pamela didn't know about Bella and Alpha Xavier, since she knew she had mistreated Bella and was willing to send her second daughter here. She knew very well that she had set her sights on the wealth of the Alpha Xavier family. At first, she was shocked. She was worried that Samantha and Alpha Xavier's marriage would be in vain, but now she didn't see it that way. She just felt a little uncomfortable. Why did she choose a mistress for her son? However, when she thought about how Bella had refused to submit to her, she thought Samantha was the best choice. Samantha was gentle, kind, and reasonable. She would never defy her like Bella did. Being a successful businesswoman, Eleanor forced a smile and said, "So that is how it is. What about Alpha Xavier and Samantha?" The matter between Samantha and Alpha Xavier is actually very difficult for me and Beta. The Beta once discussed it with Bella. He was worried that Bella would object, but he didn't expect Bella to be very reasonable. She doesn't object to the matter between Alpha Xavier and Samantha. Since Bella doesn't object, and Alpha Xavier and Samantha love each other, Pamela was a master of equivocation. After beating around the bush for so long, she made an excuse that Bella didn't object to show her stance. Eleanor laughed and said, "I also think so. Since Alpha Xavier and Samantha like each other, we should at least fulfill their wishes as parents." Pamela nodded. "Don't feel guilty about Bella, Alpha Xavier, and Samantha. Let her go." "Yes. Let her leave the past behind. Let's move forward." Eleanor naturally agreed. "By the way, since I have been clear today, I have nothing to hide. There is one more thing I have to tell you." Pamela was adept at observing others' expressions. Since Bella had returned with a legitimate reason, she would naturally have to face Alpha Xavier in the future. To prevent them from rekindling their relationship, Pamela had to be on guard. "What is it?" Eleanor asked, raising an eyebrow. It wasn't that Beta Craig didn't help with the development of the company last time. It was actually Bella who asked for his help. He felt guilty towards her, so he agreed to her request. Pamela lied once again. "I see." Eleanor looked enlightened, and her hatred for Bella deepened. If it weren't for her, Alpha Xavier Enterprises wouldn't have lost a large sum of money. But don't worry. Craig has already made it up to her. Such a thing will never happen again. Pamela passed a message to Eleanor. Eleanor nodded. She understood what Pamela meant. Since things had reached this point, there was no need to determine who was right or wrong. She stood up and said, "It is getting late. I'll ask Alpha Xavier to send you back." Chapter 125. In a somber and eerie atmosphere, Mark drove the car while Alpha Xavier, Samantha, and her mother sat silently in the back. Mark couldn't help but notice the Alpha's unusual mood. Something had clearly upset him, but Mark couldn't fathom what had happened. As they arrived at the Craig family's house, Alpha Xavier didn't step out of the car. Samantha bid him farewell, a departure from her usual clinginess. As Alpha Xavier's car vanished into the distance, Samantha breathed a sigh of relief and turned to her mother. "Mom, do you think Eleanor will believe your words? Even if she doesn't believe, she has no choice but to accept it." Pamela snorted. Her face had stiffened from feigning a smile earlier. Cursing Bella under her breath, she muttered, "Damn girl, why did you have to come back now? Such terrible luck." "Yes. I was so worried today, thinking she would ruin everything. But to my surprise, she did nothing," Samantha replied. "By the way, what is the matter with Alpha Xavier?" Pamela inquired. "He trusts me." "I don't think there is any problem for now," Samantha assured. "He has always seen you as innocent, dear. He believed you wouldn't have a child, which is why he felt so guilty towards you. He probably won't doubt it, but be cautious in the future," Pamela cautioned. Pamela reminded her daughter, "Alpha Xavier is a good man, but his loyalty to family is strong. If Bella had made an effort to win Eleanor's favor, things wouldn't be like this. So remember, no matter what happens, don't provoke Eleanor. You must coax her well. As long as Eleanor is happy, Alpha Xavier will be happy." Samantha nodded, determined to win Eleanor over and avoid any trouble. After standing at the door for a moment, the mother and daughter finally entered the house. Bella had awakened and was enjoying a meal in the dining room. Aunt Malia and Beta Craig sat beside her, observing her. Freshened up from a shower and a nap, Bella appeared revitalized and no longer resembled the disheveled mess from before. Aunt Malia had prepared noodles for dinner, which Bella relished. "I haven't eaten Aunt Malia's noodles in so long. They're still so delicious." Aunt Malia gazed at Bella affectionately. "I'll cook whatever you like from now on." "Thank you, Aunt Malia." Bella sweetly smiled and continued savoring her meal. Having overheard the commotion, Beta Craig turned around, surprised to see them. "You are back?" Pamela approached with a wide grin. "Why not let Bella enjoy some noodles?" Bella said she didn't want to impose, so she requested Aunt Malia to make them casually. Beta Craig explained, "Tomorrow, I'll personally cook to welcome Bella," Pamela offered. Having eaten a few spoonfuls, Bella placed her utensils down and rose from her seat. "I am full. I'll head upstairs, thank you for everything," Aunt Malia, completely ignoring Pamela. Bella moved towards the stairs without a care. Pamela remained unfazed, maintaining her smile. Beta Craig was pleased with Pamela's performance. As Bella ascended the stairs, he gestured for Pamela to join him in the study. Closing the door behind them, Beta Craig asked, "Did Eleanor say anything?" "No. I only told her something that startled Bella. I simply said Bella was taken by George when she was a child. And we only recently found her," Pamela lied. Beta Craig nodded. "Whether she believes it or not, it is irrelevant. Eleanor is clever. Seeing how harsh she is towards Bella, I worry about Samantha suffering." "No worries. Bella didn't know she was your daughter then, but Samantha is different. Whether she likes it or not, she has to go along with it," Pamela assured. Beta Craig nodded in agreement. He was elated that his daughter had returned. Bella, remember to keep an eye on her when you come back. People can change if treated well, I understand. Don't worry, I'll treat Bella like she is my own daughter, Pamela promised. In a softer tone, Beta Craig added, Thank you for all your efforts. When Alpha Xavier returned home, Eleanor was waiting for him in the living room. Alpha Xavier, why are you back so late? Sitting down next to her, Alpha Xavier calmly asked. Why aren't you resting yet, Mom? I was waiting for you. How can I sleep after such a revelation? I was expecting us to discuss it, Eleanor huffed, displeased with her son's composed demeanor. A discussion is unnecessary. Alpha Xavier replied, Aren't you surprised? Eleanor, dissatisfied with her son's indifference, exclaimed, I have never experienced anything as absurd as this. Bella and Samantha are sisters, yet they look nothing alike. Chapter 126. It is impossible for siblings to look like each other, especially when they have different parents, Alpha Xavier responded with indifference. If I had known that Bella was Beta Craig's daughter, I would have treated her differently, wouldn't I? Alpha Xavier's voice remained calm, but his tone was dripping with sarcasm. Eleanor smiled awkwardly and said, You can't say that. I wanted you to divorce her from the start because she couldn't have children. It had nothing to do with her background. In that kind of environment, it is normal for her to not be able to have children. Alpha Xavier sarcastically remarked, Let's not talk about that. We need to be cautious. Now that Bella and Beta Craig have reconciled, he might try to harm us, Eleanor reminded. Mom, are you afraid she'll seek revenge? Alpha Xavier sneered. If I had known this would happen, I wouldn't have done it. Alpha Xavier, I did it for your own good. Everything I did was for your own good. You have to be careful with Bella. I have a feeling she has bad intentions and will seek revenge on us. Eleanor expressed her concern. Eleanor could clearly see Bella's hostility towards her. Beta Craig's sudden change in his attitude towards Bella was also suspicious. Didn't Pamela mention that Bella was causing trouble for the company? If she continued doing that, it would harm not only the company, but also the upcoming sports event. That is why Eleanor waited for her son to come back so they could discuss this situation. She never expected him to be so unconcerned about the danger. He acted as if it didn't involve him. If she wants to seek revenge, let her. Alpha Xavier's face showed impatience. Have you considered the consequences? With Bella in the picture, Beta Craig won't be of much help to you, Eleanor warned. Mom, even without Beta Craig's help, I can still start a new pack and company, can't I? Alpha Xavier questioned. Yes, I know you can, but you always worry about having to face everything alone. That is why I wanted to find someone who could support you. Like Samantha, Eleanor responded. What are you implying? Alpha Xavier was surprised by his mother's statement. Are you suggesting we call off the engagement? If Beta Craig can't help you, then there is no need for you to get married, Eleanor declared confidently. Have you really thought this through? Alpha Xavier asked impatiently. You were the one who went out of your way to arrange the engagement in the first place. And now you want to call it off. Let me tell you something. Beta Craig is not as soft-hearted as Bella used to be. Don't be fooled. Defeated by Alpha Xavier's rebuttal, Eleanor sat down dejectedly, seeing his mother's despondent expression. Alpha Xavier felt a pang of sadness. He knew his mother could be snobbish, but he didn't expect her to be this snobbish. It had nothing to do with love. He agreed to the engagement for his own reasons. In any case, Bella didn't want him to marry anyone, but his mother kept planning. If she found out that Samantha couldn't have children, he didn't know what she'd do. He sneered at the idea of how eagerly she pushed him to marry Samantha. It was karma. The Alpha Xavier family seemed destined to have no descendants. He rose indifferently and said, "I am tired. Let's go rest upstairs." Eleanor looked at her son's indifferent expression and felt a sense of suffocation. Ever since Bella lost her virginity, her son had become more impatient in their conversations. She didn't feel like she was in the wrong. Everything she did was for her son's benefit. Why didn't her son appreciate it? Bella returned to her room and called George to inform him that she had moved back to the Craig family. George was surprised and warned her about dealing with Pamela. "Uncle, don't worry. I will be careful," Bella assured him. After hanging up the phone, Bella lay in bed, unable to fall asleep. Earlier in the day, she saw Alpha Xavier and Samantha receiving congratulations from everyone on stage. It wasn't that she didn't feel anything, but she suppressed the pain in her heart. She tried to smile and treat someone who had hurt her deeply. She knew that tonight, Eleanor would discover her true identity. Eleanor and Alpha Xavier wouldn't be able to sleep. It didn't matter. There would be many sleepless nights in their future. Bella tossed and turned, unable to find peace. Her purpose for returning to the family wasn't just to secure Beta Craig's property, but also to obtain Alpha Xavier's sperm. Getting Beta Craig's property was one thing, but getting Alpha Xavier's sperm posed a bigger challenge. Bella shook her head, thinking, how can I get Alpha Xavier's sperm, seduce him and sleep with him? That method wouldn't work. Even if she could tolerate the disgust and have sex with him, there was no guarantee she would get pregnant. She had been married to him for over 3 years, but she only realized she was pregnant after their divorce. Not to mention she recently had a tubal ligation surgery. Naturally, it would be harder for her to conceive, right? There was only one option, to steal his sperm. But how could she do that? She recalled reading a story about a woman who stole sperm from a condom to have another man's child. That method could work somehow. Alpha Xavier and Samantha were already engaged, so they would definitely have sex. If she could replace their condom with a non-victory one, then take it afterwards. But they probably wouldn't use condoms. After all, Eleanor really wanted grandchildren. Alpha Xavier would surely fulfill his mother's wish. Bella sighed. That won't work. What should I do? Chapter 127. The following morning, as the sun rose, Bella awoke to find Beta Craig and Pamela sitting on the sofa in the living room. A snarl escaped her lips when she caught sight of Beta Craig, but she quickly masked it with a friendly smile. "Bella, did you sleep well last night?" he asked. His voice filled with false concern. "Not bad." Bella replied with a growl, making it clear she didn't particularly care. "Let's have breakfast first." Beta Craig rose from his seat, and Pamela followed suit, a fake smile plastered on her face. "Beta asked Aunt Malia to make breakfast that you like and wait to eat with you. Thank you very much." Bella forced out the words through gritted teeth. She had no genuine gratitude for them. Dealing with their fake niceties drained her energy. If it weren't for her connection to Leo, she wouldn't have bothered with them at all. Because Bella had returned, Beta Craig skipped his work for the day, choosing to stay at home instead. His phone incessantly buzzed with calls, likely from other members of the pack seeking his guidance. Bored with the company, Bella retreated to Beta Craig's study. As she looked for a book to read, her keen werewolf senses led her to stumble upon some documents about an upcoming sports meeting in the pack. Her heart skipped a beat. 20. If there was bidding involved, Alpha Xavier would undoubtedly be participating. She couldn't allow him to achieve whatever he aimed for. The only ones with a chance to thwart him were the Parablutions, so Bella swiftly grabbed her bag and rushed out of the door, determined to find Alpha Carl. Leaving the Craig family's house behind, Bella hurriedly made her way to the nearest bus stop, However, after waiting for what felt like an eternity, there was no sign of the bus. Another man waiting pointed out a car nearby, drawing Bella's attention. "Do you know that person? He has been fixated on you." With a sense of foreboding, Bella turned her head and was taken aback to see Alpha Xavier seated in the vehicle. His unwavering gaze locked on her. She hadn't expected to encounter him there. Her initial assumption was that he had come to collect Samantha, so she chose to ignore him. But then she heard the car door open. The familiar scent reached her, and before she knew it, Alpha Xavier had approached her side. "Let's talk," he demanded, his voice filled with a mix of determination and frustration. Bella kept her gaze fixed ahead, her icy demeanor unfaltering as she dismissed his words. Alpha Xavier couldn't help but feel a storm brewing within him. He had spent a sleepless night driving over in desperation. So many questions plagued his mind. He had parked the car and attempted to call Bella, only to discover that his calls were blocked. Assuming she had turned off her phone, he hadn't imagined that she actively refused to let him contact her, determined not to leave without answers. He had stayed in the car all night, enduring a torturous experience. He couldn't help but wonder why Bella had returned to the Craig family at such a time. They had been married for 3 long years, and the memories of their once beautiful moments together lingered in his mind. He had always believed that he knew Bella intimately, that they were honest with each other. How foolish he now felt. If there was even the slightest amount of love within her, she wouldn't have concealed her true identity. When Bella left, he swore to himself that he would never again trust anything she said. Yet her words were etched in his mind, resurfacing each time he encountered a similar situation. Perhaps he had been staring for too long. The man at the bus stop whispered something to Bella, breaking her attention away from the car momentarily. She glanced at it briefly before looking away, her coldness only intensifying Alpha Xavier's determination. Without thinking, he reached out to grasp her hand firmly. "Come with me," he demanded, his grip tight and unyielding. "Let go." Bella struggled, refusing to enter his vehicle. She no longer had any desire to be in his presence. Ever since Alpha Xavier rejected her, any remnants of affection had been snuffed out. From that moment on, they became nothing more than strangers. Ignoring her protests, Alpha Xavier forced Bella into the car. He shut the door and locked it, preventing her escape. Bella's eyes blazed with anger as she focused her intense gaze on him. "Alpha Xavier, have you lost your mind?" "Bella, I have something to ask you." Alpha Xavier disregarded her anger entirely. "You must tell me the truth. And who do you think you are?" Bella sneered, her voice dripping with contempt. Alpha Xavier paid no mind to her hostility. "Why have you returned at this time? I am simply overjoyed." "All right, there must be a reason behind it. You didn't want to acknowledge Beta Craig in that situation. So why now? And why did you call me that night?" His curiosity consumed him. "I want the truth." Only now did he remember to inquire why. "Isn't it a little too late? I was merely acting out of temporary impulse." Bella sarcastically replied. "Are you seeking revenge against Samantha? Is that why you've come back?" Samantha, how easily he called her name. Bella turned her head away, her eyes freezing over. "And if I am, I won't let you succeed." "Keep your petty plans hidden," Alpha Xavier declared, his gaze unwavering. "I won't allow anyone to harm her." He had convinced himself that time had changed, that he had found love with a different woman. Bella found it both amusing and saddening. She had been so blind. How could she have fallen for a man like him? How could she have believed that he would bring her happiness? Thankfully, those days were a thing of the past now. Chapter 128. Alpha Xavier, I won't silently endure the pain you gave me. From now on, I'll get it back little by little. I swear, Bella thought with her wolf. Alpha Xavier. It depends on whether you have the ability or not. Bella pointed at the car door with a low growl in her voice. Open the door and let me get out. Alpha Xavier's eyes flashed with an arrogance that befitted his position as an alpha. He didn't move, a challenging smile playing on his lips. Bella, Samantha is innocent. If you have anything to say, come at me. The fierce fire within Bella ignited, her werewolf instincts urging her to defend herself. I said open the door. Her voice tinged with a dangerous growl. If you don't open the door, I'll ask your fiancé to come and take a look. She bared her fangs slightly, a warning of her wrath. With determination, she took out her phone, ready to make the call. Alpha Xavier, feeling the pressure, had no choice but to give in to her demands. Reluctantly, he opened the door, releasing Bella from his control. Bella stepped out of the car, her eyes burning with a fiery intensity. She took a few steps forward, and then suddenly turned, motioning for Alpha Xavier to lower the car window. Curiosity got the best of him, and he obliged, poking his head out, unsuspecting of what was about to happen. In a split second, Bella's hand shot forward, delivering a powerful slap across his face, the impact reverberating through the night. This is the price you have to pay for forcing me to get in your car today. Bella snarled, her voice dripping with venom. I also want to tell you that you will pay for your words today. I swear you will pay the price. Her eyes held a chilling hatred as she stared him down. The bond that once united them now shattered, leaving behind only animosity and vengeance. Alpha Xavier's heart ached as he watched her retreat, her fierce gaze never leaving his. How had they come to this? What had gone so wrong between them? The questions nagged at him, but he knew that he had brought this upon himself. Bella, fueled by her resolve, was no longer in the mood to wait. Determined to move forward with her life, she hailed a passing taxi and headed towards Alpha Carl's company. Alpha Carl, taken aback by Bella's sudden appearance, stood up in shock. Why are you here? I am back at work, Alpha Carl Trevor, Bella responded, her voice filled with determination. She mustered the strength to face him as if nothing had happened between them. Burying her pain deep within her, Alpha Carl studied Bella's face, seeing the toll that recent events had taken on her. Concern and sympathy welled up within him, and he couldn't help but reach out to comfort her. Welcome. How could I not welcome you? His gaze softened as he met her eyes. He knew he had to be there for her during this difficult time. Bella, grateful for his support, mustered a small smile. Thank you, she whispered, the weight of her gratitude evident in her words. You don't have to worry about anything, Alpha Carl assured her, his voice filled with sincerity. Our family has resources that can help Leo. We'll find a way to get him the treatment he needs. Thank you, Bella repeated, her voice filled with gratitude and relief. It meant the world to her to have someone standing by her side. As they continued their conversation, Lucas, Alpha Carl's loyal companion, entered the room. Surprise flickered across his face as he caught sight of Bella. You are back. Bella nodded, her eyes holding a glimmer of hope. Lucas extended a hand, touching her shoulder to offer comfort. Good people have their own destiny. Everything will be fine. Don't worry too much. Thank you, Bella murmured, appreciating the support she was receiving from Lucas and Alpha Carl. Lucas, sensing the tension in the room, decided to address the matter at hand. Alpha Trevor, the National Pack Sports Committee has established the Pack Sports Meeting. There will be fierce competition between our pack and Alpha Xaviers. It is estimated that the cost for the stadiums and venues will reach $20 billion. The bidding announcement is about to be released. Alpha Carl's expression turned serious as he absorbed the information. Is this another opportunity for us to prove our strength? Lucas nodded. Indeed. This is a chance for us to showcase our capabilities. But we must not underestimate Alpha Xavier. He will also be vying for the same resources. This mission will be a challenging one. Alpha Carl's eyes gleamed with determination. I relish this competition. Let's show Alpha Xavier what we are capable of. We will prevail. Bella, knowing she could contribute to the pack's success, spoke up. I am here for the sports meeting as well, Alpha Trevor. If you need anything, feel free to rely on me. Alpha Carl smiled, appreciating Bella's dedication. I only ask that you ensure Beta Craig remains impartial. This competition will test our strength, and we must not let anything hinder our success. A team meeting was immediately called, preparations set into motion. Meanwhile, Alpha Xavier was also busy strategizing for the bidding. The two packs engaged in a fierce battle, each determined to come out on top. Alpha Carl, fueled by his competitive spirit, reveled in the thrill of the competition. I love this kind of challenge, he exclaimed, his voice tinged with a wolfish snarl. Weak opponents hold no interest for me. Let us face Alpha Xavier head-on and see who will have the last laugh. Bella couldn't help but admire Alpha Carl's confidence and determination. Together, they would face the challenges ahead, united in their goal to emerge victorious. But as she watched Samantha and Yelena, a sense of unease washed over her. Samantha's actions, the company she kept, all seemed to be part of a grand scheme. Bella couldn't help but wonder if there was more at play. Something connected to the upcoming sports meeting. Chapter 129. Without a doubt, their suspicions were correct. After Samantha hung up the phone, Yelena flattered her by asking, "Is it your mother-in-law?" Samantha nodded, but the smile on her face faded halfway. Losing the bid for the sports meeting once again was not an option. If she did, Eleanor would not be pleased with her. She needed to find a way to prevent her father from favoring Bella. Bella quietly ate her food, her heart also in turmoil. She knew all too well the intentions of Eleanor and Samantha. If it weren't for her, Alpha Xavier would have fallen into their trap. This time, as compensation, Beta Craig would surely show partiality towards Alpha Xavier, and she couldn't let Alpha Xavier and Eleanor be so smug. Her young son was seriously ill and had been suffering since a young age. How could she let Alpha Xavier and Eleanor live happily? She had to fight for this sports meeting. When she returned to the Craig family home that evening, everyone was waiting for her to join them for dinner. Bella washed her hands and took a seat at the table. Pamela smiled and offered her a piece of pork rib, but Bella rejected it outright. Pamela didn't get angry. Her smile remained intact as she continued to serve Bella. Although she was rejected, she felt a sense of satisfaction. Bella was still young, and her actions would only elicit more sympathy from Beta Craig. He believed she was trying hard to be a loving stepmother. As his sympathy for Bella increased, his guilt towards her would decrease. Eventually Bella would emerge victorious. True to her expectations, after Beta Craig saw Bella reject the dish Pamela offered for the third time, he couldn't help but say, "Bella, what is the matter?" Bella innocently questioned him. "She was serving food to you. How can you? I don't like the food she offered me. Besides, why bother others with what she can do?" Bella said coldly. With those words, Bella turned her gaze towards Pamela. She had a smile on her face, but her eyes were filled with coldness. "So, Mrs. Craig, please stop with these meaningless performances. Such acts can only fool the weak. Anyone with even a bit of intelligence knows that a mistress cannot truly be a good stepmother." Bella laughed. It was clear that Pamela was putting on a show. Beta Craig furrowed his brow slightly, and his sympathy for Pamela suddenly evaporated. He knew Bella was unhappy, but he continued to offer her food multiple times. "Bella, Don't push it too far. Samantha naturally couldn't stand seeing Bella humiliate her mother like this. Am I wrong? Bella sneered. If Pamela isn't a mistress, then aren't you an illegitimate daughter? Should I invite someone to discuss your relationship with Mr. Craig and see what others have to say? Samantha was left speechless. Even though Pamela had claimed to have deep affection for Beta Craig at the time, she couldn't control herself and could only deceive herself. Even the most foolish person could see that she had been a mistress to a married man, and, as the secretary's supposed daughter, was illegitimate. Pamela's face turned pale, and her hand holding the chopsticks trembled. Being humiliated like this in front of her daughter was truly unbearable for anyone. But in the end, she simply lowered her head and remained silent. Beta Craig's face also fluctuated between red and pale for a moment. What had happened between him and Pamela wasn't his intention, but what was the use of bringing up these matters now? His daughter had misunderstood him for a long time. He had endured harsher words than these, so he couldn't let himself get angry now. On the contrary, Pamela's patience pleased Beta Craig. Bella was consumed by anger at the moment, so it was necessary for her to vent. As long as Pamela could endure it, Bella would eventually be influenced, no matter how unruly she was. The tension at the dining table finally eased due to Pamela's patience. This caused Bella to lose her appetite entirely. She put down her bowl and chopsticks and went to the living room. Naturally, Beta Craig and Pamela couldn't continue their meal either, so the dinner quickly came to an end. Bella didn't just want to anger Pamela and Samantha tonight. She chose not to go upstairs and instead sat in the living room because she had something to discuss with Beta Craig. So when Beta Craig emerged from the dining room, Bella said directly, "I have something to tell you." "What is it?" "Let's go to the study," Beta Craig suggested, thinking that Bella's words shouldn't be spoken in front of Samantha and her daughter. Bella didn't appreciate the offer. "Just say it here." Pamela and Samantha, upon hearing Bella's words, changed their plan to retire to their rooms and instead sat down on the sofa in the living room. Seeing Pamela and Samantha seated across from Bella, Beta Craig asked, "What is it?" Bella said, "What I want to discuss is about the sports meeting. I hope you can continue to be fair in the bidding process. Don't let your personal interests overshadow your judgment." Samantha couldn't help but interject. "Dad, you promised me." "I already informed Alpha Xavier and Miss Eleanor." Beta Craig appeared hesitant. "Bella, I have already made promises to Alpha Xavier regarding this." Chapter 130. Bella sneered at Craig. "You think you can do whatever you want, huh? Do you really deserve to lead the betas in our kingdom? Giving away a project worth billions without any thought?" Craig tried to explain. "I am not trying to take advantage of my position. Alpha Xavier Enterprises has a lot of power." "Oh, please," Bella interrupted. "You really think Alpha Xavier Enterprises is the only strong company in the pack? After the last auction, it is clear that there are other companies competing as well." Craig was in a dilemma. While the Parablutions were definitely stronger than Alpha Xavier Enterprises, they didn't have the financial resources to invest in the project. The bidding between Parablutions and Alpha Xavier Enterprises was neck and neck. "Sister, you can't be so greedy. I helped you out last time, but I can't do it again," Samantha interrupted, clearly upset. Bella snapped back. "You are mistaken, Samantha. Last time, the bidding was fair and square. Parablutions won the bid for the company's development. If it weren't for Craig's betrayal, Alpha Xavier Enterprises would still have it." "That is because of you," Samantha said resentfully. Ignoring Samantha, Bella turned to Craig. "I want to maintain the fairness of the last sports meeting. If I find out you are up to something fishy in this bidding, I'll report it to the Discipline Inspection Committee." These words shocked Pamela and her daughter. Bella had never cared about money or a luxurious lifestyle, even though she was born into royalty. But Pamela, being a poor Omega, couldn't let go of this new wealthy life that had come her way. However, the mother and daughter had different concerns. If Craig wasn't influenced by this situation, it meant that their comfortable days were numbered. Without his high rank in the Werewolves' Council, they knew their lives would drastically change. Bella, what do you mean? Samantha couldn't bear Bella's blatant threat towards Craig. She was filled with anger and unwillingness. Are you trying to ruin everything on purpose? Bella looked at Samantha sarcastically. Tell me, Samantha, why would I do that? Because Alpha Xavier and I are engaged. You are just jealous of our happiness. Samantha's anger blinded her reasoning. She had promised Eleanor earlier that day to keep Bella in check. What was Bella's intention now? You are right, Samantha. I can't stand to see you two together, Bella sneered, but don't think for a second that I'll bless your adulterous relationship. I wish you both nothing but a terrible end. Samantha's face turned pale. She looked at Craig for help and pleaded, Dad. Craig's face darkened, but he remained silent. Bella's expression reminded him of how pitiful she had been when she left the family after Alpha Xavier divorced her. Bella was his daughter, and he couldn't bear to see her being bullied like this. The ruthlessness of the Alpha Xavier family was evident to all, and Bella's hatred was justified. Dad, you can't let my sister get away with everything. If she keeps targeting us like this, would you still want to do business with Alpha Xavier? Samantha blamed him. Samantha, Pamela, who had remained silent all along, stopped her daughter and turned to Bella. Bella, let your father support the Trevor family in this sports meeting. I'll talk to the Alpha Xavier family. But after this, we won't owe you anything. Let's go. Bella, interrupting her, Bella said, I never asked Craig to help the Parablutions. I didn't mention it at all. Pamela blushed, realizing that Bella hadn't mentioned anything about Craig helping the Parablutions. Bella sneered, Let me clarify. I am not someone who abuses my position as a beta. I am here tonight to remind the beta secretary not to compete with me unfairly in this sports meeting. If there is any conflict, I'll report it without hesitation, Bella declared. With that, she stood up and went upstairs, leaving the living room in silence. Craig also stood up and said, Bella is right. The pack is not my home. I have no right to decide on personal compensations. This matter will be fairly competed. Samantha's face turned pale. But I already promised Eleanor. Dad, please help me just this once. No way. Craig firmly refused. It is always the same. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't be engaged to Alpha Xavier. In that case, there is no need for this marriage. I, Beta Craig, won't let a shameless person like him be my son-in-law. Samantha wanted to beg further, but Pamela grabbed her arm and pinched her. She understood what needed to be done. Craig went to his study, while Pamela took Samantha to her bedroom. Mom, how can Bella be so hateful? Samantha fumed, speaking without restraint. If someone stole your husband, could you just stand there and do nothing? Pamela asked. Samantha replied, Of course not. I'll make her regret ever being born. That is right. Bella is doing this for a reason. The more she antagonizes us, the less likely Alpha Xavier will remain in love with her. Imagine what would happen if we bring Bella's words to public attention. You are right. Once Alpha Xavier and Eleanor find out Bella is behind all of this, they'll hate her to death. Then I won't have to worry about Alpha Xavier still holding feelings for her. Samantha smiled. I'll tell Eleanor everything that happened tonight.